So for those of you who aren't familiar with Mark Foster, he is the lead singer of Foster the People, who are best known for their hit song, Pumped Up Kicks. Back in April of 2015, I was divinely guided to create 9 YouTube videos about Mr. Foster. This video series is all about how he is my divine complement, which means soulmate on crack. Why did the other side have me create this series of YouTube videos, essentially trying to get Mr. Foster's attention? Because I am the other half of his soul. So they knew listening to me talk would strike a chord with him personally. And my spidey senses tell me that it did. Not only has Mr. Foster seen the 9 videos that I made about him, but he has in fact seen all of my YouTube videos and knows that I'm legitimate and correct. So the other side had me make these videos essentially reaching out to him in the hopes that he would come forward and be the other half of my freak show and speak his truth. Because the difference between a regular soulmate and a divine complement is that the divine complements are supposed to come together for a common life purpose and help humanity in some sort of profound way. Teach, inspire, whatever. In this case, me and Mr. Foster were supposed to come forward and give a voice to the other side, a voice to the angelic realm, so that we could channel messages for you guys, which is what my YouTube video is all about. Every video I've made has been channeled. Now, why are they summoning Mr. Foster and asking him to come forward? Why are they tapping him on his shoulder? Because before Mr. Foster came down in his little Mork and Mindy egg, his soul resided on the other side. And while his soul was on the other side, he did something called sign a soul contract. Mr. Foster agreed that when the time was right, he would come forward and he would help me. How can he do that? Well, by the time I started making those videos reaching out to him, I had already suffered greatly from speaking a very difficult truth. I walked away from a 21-year marketing career that the other side asked me to do. I couldn't keep my job because it stressed me out, which lowered my vibration. And number 2, they didn't want any split focus. They said the law of attraction is very powerful and we're not interested in split focus, Christine. We want your mind focusing on one thing and one thing only, and that's your purpose. So I had already walked away and knocked down my sandcastle with regards to my marketing career. My reputation was already ruined as a sane individual because I was telling friends, family, everyone I knew that I was talking to the dead. My livelihood was compromised because I walked away from that money. And so I had already stuck my neck out and experienced a great deal of loss at that point. And the other side had kind of carried me out so far to see, with regards to my truth, that their plan was for my divine complement to come forward at the right time and help me. He and I have unconditional love for one another. Our souls do. So we would come together and give each other that mutual unconditional love, which would heal my heart, which was broken at the time. He had the power to give me credibility. He could have said, yeah, she's correct. I don't know what to tell you guys. Hey, friends, family, parents, she's not nuts. She's actually making sense to me. So he had the power to fix my reputation, therefore fixing my livelihood. Why? Because I would have good credibility and I'd attract readings to myself so I could make my own money. So I could make money, right? Readings, yay, credibility. Another reason why they wanted him to come forward is because they wanted me in the spotlight. The other side, right? They want to speak through me. They want publicity. They want me in the spotlight. They want me in front of the camera saying, hey, over here, you guys. I have some important information to share. So the other side wanted me in the media, and he could help me with the media because he has experience with them. He knows all about TMZ. I know nothing about them. So these are all ways that Mr. Foster could have, I guess, saved me. He could have rescued me. That's essentially the way I would have described it back then, because the other side took everything that was important to me, put it in a little jar, and handed it to him. That's the way it felt at the time. As far as I was concerned back then, Mr. Foster was God. He was God, because he had so much power and control over every aspect of my life that there was no question. I was completely at his mercy. And I had no pride or ego. I wasn't above running up to him, grabbing onto his feet, and begging him to speak his truth. I had no problem with doing that. showing up to a club that he was, DJing at or whatever, and just kissing his feet and begging. Wasn't allowed. I was not allowed to reach out to him. The only thing I was allowed to do was to make those YouTube videos. I could not corner him. I could not confront him. They worried about me looking like a stalker. They worried about me scaring him. They worried about him coming forward just because he felt sorry for me or something. They didn't want a fear-based decision. They didn't want a compassion-based decision. They wanted him to come from within. They wanted his decision to come forward, to come from within and be a love-based decision. So I was not allowed to contact him, reach out to him in any way, shape, or form. I could have tried, but would have gotten a flat tire on the way to the club. The bouncer would have had a problem with my ID. Something would have happened. Something would have gone awry. Yeah, the other side's pretty powerful. So it was a pretty vulnerable and lonely time for me. Just really feeling like I was at the mercy of this guy. And that was the plan for the other side, was for me to have help. Unfortunately, help never showed up. He made the free will decision not to come forward. So he did not speak his truth, and he did not come forward. And so the other side said, well, Christine, we don't know what to tell you, but we have a goal for you to be our voice and to speak for us, so you're going to do this with or without Mr. Foster. So it's going to happen, just to let you know. So they wanted me to create this video letting you know what happened instead. Number one, friends and family think I'm totally insane. They thought I was nuts when I said that I was a psychic medium. When I started talking about the lead singer of a band being my soulmate, they knew for a fact I was completely nuts. They had their confirmation. So it compromised my personal relationships and, of course, my reputation as a sane individual. I was not known as being a psychic who was correct, right? Because people would see all these 9 videos on my YouTube channel and be like, oh, she was wrong. He never came forward. She was wrong. What was that about? That was weird. Can't book a reading with her. Can't trust her, right? No credibility. There's no credibility there. So that negatively affected other areas of my life and my reputation, because when you run around saying the lead singer of a band is your soulmate, people are like, oh, look at this girl. She thinks he's her soulmate. She's a lovesick fan. She must really like Foster the People, man. She must really like his music. Think he's cute. She's a lovesick fan. She's obsessed. She's over the moon in love with this guy. So I got made fun of a lot. As a result of being made fun of when I was already in kind of a vulnerable spot, my heart went from broken to damaged. At this point, my heart is just obliterated, damaged, because the opposite of what the divine had set to happen, happened. So the opposite of what he wanted for me happened. And so that is where he encouraged me to develop self-love and heal my own heart and help with everything that had happened. So the divine came through and, he gave me love and compassion, but it was very much, Christine, you gotta love yourself. You gotta love yourself. You're gonna have to do this by yourself, man. You gotta show yourself love. So he did a good job of helping me, heal my heart through meditation and also the importance of self-love. And number 5, the media. I never ended up in the media. I'm still just a blonde girl sitting here talking on YouTube. Never ended up in the media I was supposed to. Supposed to get the publicity so I could be their voice, but instead that never happened. And because my credibility was negatively affected, it negatively affected people who booked readings with me. So my livelihood became an issue because, again, they would not let me get a side job. So my livelihood's an issue. What did they do to compensate? When I first started making those videos about Mark Foster, I'd already charged through my savings and part of my 401k. So when he didn't come forward, they had me charge through the remainder of my 401k, sell my car, and borrow money from my parents. And I actually felt really bad for my parents because they're sitting there looking at their 42-year-old daughter who used to be like a successful, well-respected marketing person who's now talking to the dead and asking to borrow money. So they lent it to me, but I actually felt pretty bad for them during that conversation because they looked uber concerned about me. And they still are. So I think that was another really difficult thing for me, is that there's one person on this planet that actually has the ability to sit down with my parents and say, oh, by the way, your daughter's not psycho. That would have actually been pretty meaningful to me if that had actually happened, but instead they just think I'm beyond nuts at this point. Number 7, wardrobe. They're still going to put me in the media. They still want me speaking for them. So they're going to find a different way to have me end up in front of audiences. They said, Christine, you need to look nice when you end up in front of the audiences. You're going to speak for us. You're going to represent us, so you have to look nice. So we're going to need you to get a new wardrobe. And I'm just like, huh? And they said, yeah, we're going to need you to open your wallet. And I said, there's nothing in it. And they said, yeah, actually there is. And they showed me an image of my credit cards. And so they said, we want you you lost 70 pounds. So you went from an extra large to a small, so now your clothes fit. So I want you to take all that stuff to Goodwill, drop it off, and you're going to go shopping and charge up your credit cards and replace it with new stuff. And you're going to buy smalls. And you're going to buy clothes, purses, jewelry, shoes, makeup. You're going to buy whatever products you want to buy in order to feel comfortable, confident, and speaking for us and looking nice. And we also want you to pay your bills with your credit cards. We want to try to keep as much money in your account as possible, so we want you to start paying your bills with your credit cards and max them all out, charge them all up to the limit. So at this point, my overall peace of mind, my overall state of mind is pretty much this. I'm shopping, and you would think, oh, as a female, I'm having a good time shopping, right? I'm having a lot of fun. Oh, buying this, buying that. Not really. I was stressed out the entire time thinking, okay, the voices in my head are basically having me charge through my assets and now charge up my credit card bills. And so I felt like kind of a big idiot. But I did. I did it. And you have to remember there's the other side. So they sent me compulsion after compulsion after compulsion. It was like hunger. Like, gotta buy shoes, gotta buy purses, gotta buy clothes. Just this compulsion, this hunger. Felt primal. So they can be... They can be pretty energetically influencing when they want to. I still had free will, but it was like... So that was my overall state of mind at the time, and I did end up charging out my credit cards, and I maxed all of them out. And as a result, this is what happened. I thought that your credit score was based on whether or not you pay your bills on time. Nope, it's based on available credit to utilized credit. And since I had utilized all my credit score plummeted to poor. Me being a bit of a Girl Scout in this arena, that was a big kick in the gut. So I was not happy about that at all. But part of my history, that's whatever. So they didn't care. I cared. They didn't care. They're just like, oh, don't worry about it. Like, they just didn't care. Like, okay, well, I care that I have a poor credit score that could help you. I mean, that could hurt you in a lot of arenas in your life. And they're like, just like blowing me off, right? Like, mortals and their minor things. It's like, livelihood. What a self-indulgent frivolousness. Anyway, so whatever. So that was basically what my overall situation was back then. And, well, actually, I guess, yeah, pretty recent. So one of the things the other side has decided to do is make an example out of this entire situation for the greater good. They're going to have us help humanity no matter what. Yay! So what they've decided to do is make an example out of me and Mr. Foster. As opposed to bringing us together to heal each other's hearts and help humanity, we are now no longer energetically compatible for one another. Why? Because I have taken great lengths to align myself with the truth and the light, and Mr. Foster, unfortunately, in making his free will decision not to come forward, has aligned himself with falsities and therefore the dark. Since we are all magnets, the other side has decided to show you how we are all magnets. They're asking you to watch what happens to me and my life as an individual, and watch what happens to Mr. Foster and his life as an individual. Whatever ends up happening will be severe, it will be deliberate, and it will be obvious to everyone what's going on. It will be the law of attraction, and what we as individuals have directly attracted onto our paths. Would this be happening whether I created this video or not? No. All this video is doing is pointing this out. That's all it is shining a light on this so that you guys at least can learn from this situation. So that's what they wanted you to know, is why is it important to align yourself with the truth and the light? Because when you align yourself with falsities, you align yourself with the dark. Do I know what's going to happen? Nope. They said it's not my business. It says none of my business what's going to happen. So I have no clue what the deal is. All I know is that they want you guys to keep your eye on me and my life, what happens, and him and his life and what happens. Another thing is that they are going to initiate something called karmic balancing. Because Mr. Foster's free will decision not to come forward negatively affected me on my path with regards to my purpose. Therefore, they're going to initiate karmic balancing where they now take me and put me in a position of power over him. The way he was previously placed in a position of power over me, they're going to turn it around and change our perspectives now. This is not meant to punish or abuse him in any way. It's meant to teach and to show by having us trade places now. So karmically, I'm going to be placed in a position of power over him. Now, what is this meant to teach you guys? What lessons are you supposed to learn from this? Number one, effect of our free will decisions on one another. How do our free will decisions affect other people? Oftentimes, we never know. Number two, in divine intent versus free will. What happens when the divine sets an intention that doesn't happen? Number three, importance of aligning yourself with the truth and the light, right? Number four, the law of attraction. Number five, that free will decisions have consequences. And number six, that there is an accountability system in place called karma. And karma actually does exist. On a personal note, Mr. Foster, I have no idea why you didn't come forward. It's none of my business. They said it's not for my highest good to know, because they cannot allow me to, veer off of my path. I have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and speaking my truth. And so they were afraid that sharing too much information with me psychically would prevent me from doing that. So I still am being kept in the dark with regards to Mr. Foster's reasons for not coming forward. Unfortunately, the situation was black and white. I am either completely crazy and off my rocker, or I'm speaking the truth. There's no gray area. It's black and white. And so the other side is interested in showing people how black and white situations really are. You align yourself with the truth, that's the light. You align yourself with falsities, it's the dark. This is what you attract to yourself as a result. And we're going to use these two individuals for the betterment of humanity to teach everybody how it works. A while back, the other side approached me and said, Christine, we're at the front of the pirate ship with our periscope. And we're looking at your path and we're looking at your future. And we're going to need you to sell your condo. They said, we want you to sell it fully furnished. We want you to leave your stuff behind. The people that we guide to you to be the buyers are going to be karmically owed by the universe. They're going to deserve it. So we want you to energetically release your condo to them, take the money, and pay off the rest of your credit card debt. And then be empowered with the rest of the money, because after that, we're going to have you really bang your tambourine and really speak your truth. We're going to have you turn up the volume. So we want to empower you. So I did. I sold my condo. I closed escrow in a couple days. Actually, by the time you guys see this, by the time I upload this video, I will have already closed escrow. And I sold my condo because they asked me to. And after communicating with them for 7 years, I trust them. They are my eyes, they are my ears, they are all-knowing beings. So if they tell me something has to happen, it has to happen. I trust them. So I guess when I look back on my path, that compels me to pose the question to all you watching my videos. What would you do for truth?